Hello and welcome, physics students. I thought I'd shoot a quick video with you on how to write the inverse function, so the inverse regression function. So you're going along, you've got some data, you think that the data is inverse, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 5, 3.33, 2.5, and 2. And I go to graph this. And I've got a nice inverse relationship that I'm looking at. And I'd like to know the constant k for the inverse relationship. So in order to get this, you'll notice that when you go to stat and you go to calc, there is no inverse regression. You can do a linear regression and you can do a quadratic regression, but there's no inverse regression. So we have to write our own little program to do that. Okay. In order for us to do this, we're just going to take advantage of the fact that we know the structure of an inverse equation. So an inverse equation looks like y equals k over x. Okay, so what is k equal to? Well, k then is y times x. Okay, and x is going to be stored into L1 and y is going to be stored into L2. So I've got my x values in L1, my y values in L2. So k is going to be L1 times L2. So because you guys are getting data and it's imperfect data, then your k isn't going to be exactly right for a particular piece of data. So what we want to do is we want to get a whole bunch of k's and then average those k's. We want to find our k bar. Okay. In order to do that, we can do that quickly and easily in the calculator itself. If I just go to stat and go into edit, then I can find k by multiplying L1 times L3, L1 times L2, and storing it into L3. So with my cursor sitting on the L3, I'm going to type L1, and make sure that that's up there, okay? I'm going to type L1 times L2. Okay, and that's going to store that into L3. Well, what exactly is k? Is k 10 or is it 9.99? So what we do here to resolve this is we just average the k's. So I can go back to my home screen and we can average these. We can go to, let's see, I believe to get a mean, we go to list, go to ops, mean is there, and we want the mean of what's stored in L3. And there is our k value, 9.9998. But we can package this all into a single program. If we go to program, go to new, and then you want to type inverse. Okay, so I'm just going to do I, N, V, M, N, V, T, U, V, E, R, E, R, S, E. Is my inverse regression. I wonder if it'll let me do enough characters. Let me do inverse regression. Let me do R-E-G, R-E-G, like that. No, inverser. Okay, well, inverser will be, hey, inverser, that sounds good. So the very first thing I like to do when I'm writing a program is I like to clear the home screen. So I'm going to go to Program. I'm going to go to I/O, and all the way down at number 8 is Clear Home. Okay. And then the next thing I'm going to want to do is I want to make sure that my L3, because I'm going to be using L3, I want to make sure that L3 is cleared out. So I'm going to go to Stat, clear list, and then type L3. Okay. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to take what's stored in L1, and I want to multiply it by what's stored in L2, and then I want to store that. Okay, the store key is down here. It's above your on key. You want to store that into L3. So L3 second, L3 right there. Okay, and then we want to get the average of what's in L3. So we're going to do, go to second stat. We're going to go to math. We're going to do mean L3 We're going to go back to your store key, and we're going to store that into k. So do alpha, and then the variable k. All right. Now that we've done this, the only thing left to do is to output the value that's stored in k. We can do that by going to Program. We go to I/O, stands for Input and Output. We want to display. And if we want to be a little bit fancy with this, we can do an alpha lock, so second alpha. And then we can do quote. Anything that's in quotes will just show up as is on the screen. So quote, and then k, and then go to math. So we've got to get out of alpha lock, go to math now. Nope. Second math. Second quit. Okay, so if you accidentally get out of the programming like I just did, you can just go back to Program, go to Edit, and pick up the program right where you left off. So we're displaying K. I wanted to put equals. So the equals sign is in test. So second test, go to logic, and there it is. Now I'm going to close quote. Okay, and then I'm going to put a comma, and I'm going to output the contents of k, so alpha k, like so. Okay, and that's it. That is the inverse regression program. If we run it, we can check to make sure that it's running properly. So when you run this, you have to make sure that you have values stored in L1 and L2, and then go to Program, go to Execute Inverser, and it should just output the value of k. And that's it. That's the inverse regression program. I'm going to do another video on inverse squares, so you can look for that as well. Thanks.